Yo, it's really good YouTube. It's your boy Blackpowerstick, right? Been off YouTube for a minute, and I had my little, as I call it, I was hibernating. Hibernating on my information, and so you could call it a rest period or call it a hibernation period, whichever have you. But I've been kind of working on, kind of trying to see how I can come forward with this. I mean, most of you seen my videos have been about economics, and again, happy new year to all my YouTubers and to all my subscribers and to all the haters and whoever else is on my page viewing me. Now this video is called Black History Economic Style because as I'm getting into economics and economic understanding, regardless of what we say, regardless of what we even look at, even when we talk about the very same black history which so much black people in other groups love to tell people that we need to study, how can you tell your own people to study themselves when you study yourself you find there was always economic structure based around where you came from? As a man now who's born in the UK, who comes from Jamaican descendants, obviously my family are from that Windrush generation, my grandparents. Even when I look at why they came here, it was all economical. Every reason for many of the actions you find is economical, because before you can control politics you have to control economics. So when you understand the flow of economics, you can then determine the flow of politics. Now what was funny to me about when I was thinking about this video, let me think about coming from Jamaica. Right now, if you go on YouTube, you could type history of Jamaica. I'm gonna try and put some good videos which I've viewed and websites you can read on in the info boxes. Now when I was reading it, it's a 4-part video. Anyone who has time, I will encourage you to make time, especially if you're from Jamaican descendants and Caribbean descendants. The first thing I know now, it was talking about an English family called the Beckfords, and I know the Beckford family were a poor English family, but because Lord Beckford invested into slavery, and the future generations were wealthy from slavery, from the sugar plantations in Westmoreland, where my family are actually from. My family are actually from that part of Jamaica. So when I now do the understanding to that, how is it a poor, downtrodden white family, as I don't really want to, or European family, how are they able to go to Jamaica and invest in a commodity in Jamaica and then now become a wealthy family in the UK? You see, Jamaica and the Caribbean are sugar producing countries, so that's why you find that. I mean, I even done some research listening to African historian based in the UK from Liverpool, Lawrence Westgraff. His descendants are from Barbados, and as I've realized, he even said it, slavery revolutionized that taste, because prior to slavery, I know the sugar allowance was 1 tablespoon a year on average. So now from slavery, it's just slavery revolutionized the taste, our taste. So now you then have to understand. I know at one point when when England was going into a recession, I also know that the wealth that they got from the sugar was what helped keep them afloat. And I also know, even when we look at, say, America being Britain's biggest colony, in the South they were picking cotton and tobacco. They had slaves picking cotton and tobacco. So the first thing I realized, again, it's another economic reason. I realize now, from understanding that, every movement which was made by so-called supremacists, by so-called slave masters, everything came down to economics. And when people talk about Britain abolishing slavery, when Britain abolished the slave trade, they didn't abolish slavery, because wealth was still being made on slavery, but they campaigned to abolish the slave trade. only due to the reason that they lost their biggest colony, which was America. So the only reason for them campaigning to abolish the slave trade was because they could no longer use the slave trade. I mean, the slave trade is the process of buying and selling and auctioning of slaves. But when you lose your biggest colony, where tobacco, cotton, sugar is all being produced, and you can no longer use your slaves, of course it's only another economical it's an economical decision to campaign to abolish slavery, because you can no longer use your slaves. And not only do we have the process of you being unable to use your slaves, you have a process of the fact that why would you invest in something when you know you're going to lose? Because slavery was a big investment. I also know that when I was doing some research on say Latin America, again, we have parts of, we know Brazil is the second largest coffee producer in the world. So we can see, when, even though the Portuguese were colonizers, colonizing Angola and Brazil, as I realized, the reason why the Portuguese may not have gone out as much as, say, Britain and France and the Spanish, is because Brazil, when you look at the geographics of Brazil, Brazil is a very big country, and Brazil right now is on the up and up with its development. Even though I don't think the development is going into the hands of the very same original people that come from Brazil, we can see that so much has been put into Brazil, and so much in terms of economic wealth and resources are now coming out. I saw a video in on YouTube again, talking about how I think it was in Colombia, I'm not too sure, but how diesel is now being made from coconuts, and they're using the coconut oil and coconut water to pump diesel in people's cars, and now the coconuts are now being used as a part of the economy. And now at the moment, being from the UK and having descendants from Jamaica, and seeing the ignorance from many of us as Caribbean people, and seeing the ignorance from us as black people, one thing it's also come to my attention is we have the ability to make everyone else money except ourselves. You know, when I was doing a look up on Uganda prior to when Idi Amin threw out the Asians, I also know that the British had a lot of wealth in Uganda which they could not control, so they gave to the Indians to control, and that was the reason why the Indians, Idi Amin had given the Indians a period of time to leave Uganda. So now with the remaining wealth that the Indians were in control of, they transferred it to the UK into many bank accounts. So with that, they were able to start the local corner shops that we see. And all the Asians we now see who are in businesses, they've used the foundations from the previous Indian generations to now live well and live good in the UK, because I only see more Indian people buying more and more and investing into more businesses in the UK at a time when businesses are closing. So we can even see, we can look at so much economics and how economics is being applied into so much communities. Now when so much people now talk about studying Kemet, which I'm going to talk about Kemet and the Moors a bit more on a historical note, because I can go for a while, as I've done some very good intense research, man. But it's your boy Blackpowerstick, man. Get at me.